In the town of Nyanda, the sky turned a deep maroon color early in the sweaty morning. The first drops hit the dusty roads like ink on paper, leaving dark marks on the ground. Within minutes, the whole village was soaked in a blood-colored rain. Then came the screams as women holding water jugs fell, and stared in shock as the red liquid splashed onto their skin. As kids played barefoot in the mud, they froze while their clothes got wet. Men who had been fishing early in the morning stopped in their tracks and stared up at the sky with wide, scared eyes. At first, the locals thought it was a bad sign. Mama Esh, the top elder, stepped outside and gasped, her face going pale. That's when they knew it wasn't just a natural event. "It has returned," she whispered. A writer from the city named Amani stood in the middle of the village square and said, just like before, he let the strange rain wash over him. With his phone in his hand, he filmed the strange event. He had written about weird things happening before, but nothing like this. "What do you mean? Just like before?" he asked Mama Eshi. She looked at him with old eyes that looked almost scared. The last time blood rained from the sky, the village suffered for its sins. The spirits demand justice. Someone among us has done something terrible. Amani frowned. In rural places like this, superstitions were common, but this was too strange to ignore. He needed to know what was going on. It kept raining, covering the town in a creepy blanket. And somewhere, between the leader's whispers and the villagers' gasps, there was a secret just waiting to be found. The scientists' doubt. Amani didn't waste any time. Honso Mokali, an atmospheric scientist at the National Meteorological Institute, is known for taking a logical approach to strange events. "Kenzo, you need to see this," Amani told him, flipping his camera to show the village drenched in red rain. Kenzo was silent for a moment before answering, "That can't be true. The rainwater must be polluted from somewhere nearby, like algae or pollution from example." Amani turned back to the people and watched as fear spread through them. "The people here think it's a warning. They say it happened before, and a great tragedy followed." Kenzo scoffed. "Amani, you know better than to believe in ghost stories. This is science. There's always an explanation." "Then give me one," Amani asked. "I'll go to Nyanda myself, but in the meantime, I need you to get samples." Amani agreed, and turned around to go back to the village. But as he bent down to get the blood-red water, he saw something strange. It wasn't just red. It was thick, sticky, like real blood, and it smelled like iron. He got a chill. Science might be able to help explain this. Or just maybe. The locals were right. The ghosts were mad. Chapter 3. The elder's words of caution as Amani put the sample in a plastic bag and sealed it. Mama Eshi walked up to him, her face tense with worry. She said in a whisper, "You must not anger them." "Anger who?" Amani asked. "The ancestors. They watch, they listen, and they came back for a reason. The village paid the price last time for not listening to their warnings." She put a shaking hand on his shoulder. "Don't be the one who goes against them," she said. Amani wanted to explain this to her with science. His nerves were shook by the fear in her eyes. He asked, "What happened the last time?" Mama Eshi wasn't sure what to say. "A lot of people died, and some couldn't be found. We buried the dead as best we could, but the rain wouldn't stop until justice was done." "And what was the sin that time?" Amani asked, holding his recorder tightly. Mama Eshi lowered her gaze. Another scream shook the town before Amani could ask what happened. A child was taken. A sacrifice was made in secret. But the spirits knew. They always know. A young boy had fallen down in the middle of the square. His body was shaking furiously, and blood was foaming at his mouth. The ghosts were taking their first victim. Episode 4. The first death. The town was filled with fear like wildfire. Child's mother knelt next to him and sobbed. His little body shook very badly before it stopped. He stared blankly into the stormy sky with wide, scared eyes. Amani ran forward to see if there was a pulse. It was too late, though. The voice of an elder pleaded, "We must bury him before nightfall, before the spirits take more." Kenzo's voice could be heard over Amani's phone. "What just happened? Amani, are you still there?" Amani took a deep breath. "A boy just died, and the rain. It's not stopping." A swear word was said by Kenzo. "I'm boarding a flight now. Don't let them jump to conclusions. This has to have a scientific cause." He told Amani to believe him. He wasn't so sure when he saw the frightened villagers and the dead body on the ground, though the ghosts had already begun to judge. 5. A dark shape in the night as people in the village met that night to bury the boy. It kept raining non-stop. The village was filled with the sound of drums, a beat that was both sad and scary. Amani sat in his hut and watched his video again and again. It felt like something from a nightmare. The rain, the boy's fall, and the scared faces. He was still trying to figure it out when he heard an outside sound that made him look up. With great care, he reached for his flashlight and walked slowly toward the door. The village was very quiet, except for the sound of drums far away. He then saw it. It was hard to see, but there was a figure at the edge of the trees. It was taller than it should have been, with long arms and bright red eyes. Even though it wasn't moving, Amani could tell it was watching him. His breath shook. Was it just the rain making it look that way, or was there really something in the shadows? When a branch broke behind him, he spun around quickly, shaking with fear. Nothing. The figure was gone when he turned around. Amani ran inside and locked the door. It didn't matter if it was all in his head or if it was real. While watching, it was early in the morning when Dr. Kenzo Makali arrived at Nyanda. He got out of the jeep feeling tired and skeptical. As he walked toward Amani, the sharp smell of rain filled the air. His boots squelched in the air. "Blood-red mud," Kenzo said in a low voice. "Tell me that this is some elaborate hoax." He was given the sample by Amani, who shook his head. "See for yourself. The villagers believe it's a curse. And now a boy is dead." Kenzo frowned and took out his kit. He then ran a quick test on the sample. The locals kept a close eye on him and talked quietly to each other as he worked. They didn't think science belonged here. The spirits had already said what they wanted to say. After a moment, "I need to send this to the lab for a full test," Kenzo said, "but initial results show high levels of hemoglobin. This isn't just water. It has organic matter." Amani took a deep breath. "So you're saying this could actually be blood?" Kenzo was unsure. "I need more tests before I can say that. But if it is, the question is, whose?" Book 7. The marked ones in the village square that afternoon, the leaders got together and asked everyone to come to a meeting. Mother Eshi put up her hands to ask for quiet. "The spirits do not bring punishment without reason. We must find the one who has caused this." A wave of fear went through the crowd. Amani and Kenzo looked at each other with unease. Kenzo asked in a whisper, "What are they talking about?" "They believe someone in the village has committed a grave sin," Amani said. "And until that person is found, the rain will not stop." The people looked at each other and prayed in secret. After that, a woman yelled and pointed at a guy in the back of the crowd. Strange red bumps on his arms looked like they were burned by the rain. Someone yelled, "He is marked!" The man moved back, his eyes wide with fear. "No, I did nothing." But the people in the town rushed toward him. Chapter 8. What was charged? Kenzo moved forward and tried to step in. He yelled, "Stop. We have no idea what this means." The people were on the edge, but Mama Eshi spoke up with a calm but firm tone. "This man must confess. If he is innocent, the spirits will show mercy. If he is guilty, they will take what is owed. Jabari, the man who was being accused, shook his head wildly. I have done nothing. I swear it. Amani pushed Kenzo to the side. We need to get him away before they do something drastic. A foamy form. He was dead in a matter of seconds. The village fell silent out of fear. The ghosts had killed their second person. The voices that whisper Amani had trouble sleeping that night. He kept thinking about what had happened that day. Something that didn't make sense was going on in this village. He then heard it. A voice calling his name in a whisper. Woke up quickly, and his heart was racing. Even though it was dark inside the hut, the whispers got louder and blew around him like a cold wind. He digs around for his flashlight and points it at the door. Nothing. But when he turned to look out the window, he saw them. They were shadows moving just beyond the trees, and the darkness made their eyes glow red. The ghosts were looking. Chapter 10. The shaman's words of caution. A village healer named Baba Kofi lived on the edge. Healer named Baba Kofi lived on the edge of Nyanda. The next morning, Amani went to find him. He was the only one who really knew what was going on. Baba Kofi sat with his legs crossed in front of his fire and stared at it. Before Amani could say anything, he asked, Have you seen them? Amani was unsure. The spirits, the ones the villagers fear. Baba Kofi said, Yes. They are restless. The rain is their warning. If balance is not restored, they will take more. Amani leaned in. What does that mean? How do we stop this? This made the shaman's eyes darker. You must find the sin that was committed. Only then will the blood rain cease. But be careful, outsider. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. Chapter 11. The secret grave so they could find out the sure truth. Amani and Kenzo looked through the village records for any information about crimes that might have caused the spirits to become angry in the past. In their search, they found an empty hut on the edge of the town. The walls were marked in strange ways. Inside, they found a scary scene, a small grave with bones still wrapped in old, worn-out cloth. Kenzo took a deep breath. How old do you think these are? Not old enough, Amani said in a low voice. Someone tried to hide this. The ghosts had found it, though. Chapter 12. The truth found the word got around quickly, and soon the whole village was at the scene. Mama Eshi took a step forward, and her face was serious. This is why the rain has returned. Someone took a life in secret, and the spirits demand retribution. She looked at Amani. Who was buried here? She paused before she spoke. A child. A sacrifice made years ago to protect the village. But the ancestors never forget. Kenzo looked really scared. A sacrifice? You mean, someone killed an innocent child to stop something worse? Mama Eshi said yes. But justice was never done. That is why the rain has returned. 13. The storm gets stronger. The rain got worse while the locals talked about what to do. There was thunder, and lightning struck the sky. Could feel the ground shaking under their feet. Mama Eshi yelled. The spirits are getting impatient. A decision must be made. Amani looked at all the scared people around her. He asked Baba Kofi, what do they want? The old shaman's voice was almost whisper quiet. They want balance, blood for blood. Amani came to a frightening realization. It had to cost someone. Chapter 14. The giving up. The elders of the town got together to talk about who should be sacrificed to the spirits. Their judgment was impaired by fear and desperation. A woman stepped forward before anyone could decide. It was my father who took that child's life all those years ago, she said. If blood must be repaid, take mine. The tears came out of Mama Eshi's eyes. No, child, there must be another way. But the ghosts had already made their choice. It stopped raining. The air became still as the woman was taken to the grave. The people in the town held their breath as she knelt next to the grave, and said a prayer of forgiveness. Then the rain stopped just as quickly as it come on. The clouds cleared, letting in the first rays of sunlight in days, which shocked Amani. The spirits were calmed down. Nyanda's people would never forget what they gave up. Though the tense peace, the people in the town stood there in shock as the last drops of blood-red rain fell to the ground. The sky was clear for the first time in days, and the air didn't smell like iron anymore. But even though the spirits were calmed, the town felt very uneasy. I turned to look at Kenzo, said in a whisper, "It's over." Kenzo shook his head and held on to his notebook. "Maybe for now. But I need to understand what happened here. This rain, it's impossible. And yet, it was real." The mother put her hand on Amani's shoulder. "The spirits have had their justice. But, mark my words, child, if the balance is ever disturbed again, they will return." What scientists don't believe Kenzo stayed in Nyanda for a few more days to get samples and talk to people in the town? He had a logical mind, but he had a hard time explaining what he had seen. As they sat by the fire one night, he told Amani, "There's no logical reason for this. Even if the rain had organic material, where did it come from? And why did it stop the moment that woman sacrificed herself?" Amani looked into the fire. "Some things are beyond science. You saw it with your own eyes. The spirits were real." Kenzo wanted to fight, but he couldn't get rid of the whispers he had heard in the night, or the shadows that moved just out of sight. Part 18. A village was different. Nyanda's life slowly went back to normal, but there was an unwritten rule that everyone followed. The blood rain was not talked about. No one questioned what the ghost said. Something old and strong had left its mark on the village. She got the kids together one night and told them the story of the blood rain so they would never forget. "Respect your ancestors," she told them. "Never break the balance, for if you do, the rain will return, and this time it may never stop." Chapter 19. Leaving one another, Kenzo had to go. He put his things away, but Baba Kofi called him before he could leave. The magician told the scientist, "You came looking for answers, but you leave with something greater. Knowledge. Not everything in this world can be measured in numbers and samples. Some truths must simply be believed." Kenzo nodded, but he wasn't sure if he got it all. But when he got in his jeep and drove off, he felt like he was leaving a part of himself behind. Amani watched him leave because she knew Nyanda's story had a lot more to tell. The sign after a few months. The village did very well when the weather was clear. She stopped at the well on her way to her hut one night, though. There was one drop of red water moving across the top. She stopped moving and felt a chill go down her spine. The ghosts were happy, but not for good. They would bring back the blood rain whenever they thought it was necessary. The price might be higher the next time too. What's new? Mama Eshi stood by the well and looked at the one red drop of water. As she quickly turned around and ran back to the village square, her heart was beating fast. She had to tell everyone else. Amani was the first person to see her. "Mama, Eshi, what's wrong?" "She told me to go to the well. The ancestors are speaking again. The balance is shifting. We must prepare." The ghosts come out. Strange things started to happen that night. Kids screamed when they woke up, saying they saw bright red eyes outside their windows. Animals got antsy and howled at the sky. They met behind closed doors. The old shaman said, "The spirits are upset. The last sacrifice was accepted, but something remains unfinished." Amani made a face. Baba Kofi's eyes got darker. Perhaps the first sin was greater than we knew. Chapter 23. What Kenzo found. Kenzo looked at his samples in the city. It was strange, never seen anything like it before. The water had biological matter that looked like blood, but it also had something else in it that was very old. He called Amani on the phone. I think I found something. I need to come back. Then Amani paused and nodded. Hurry. The spirits are stirring again. Chapter 24. The past that was found. The next day, Kenzo showed up with papers he had found in old colony records. He showed the files and said, there was another incident like this. Over 100 years ago. And the same thing happened. Amani's eyes got bigger. What did they do to stop it? Kenzo was unsure. They didn't. The entire village disappeared. Chapter 25. The family history mark. The locals started to notice that they had strange red marks on their skin that seemed to appear overnight. Mama Eshi looked at them very carefully. These are the marks of the ancestors. They are choosing their next messenger. People let out gasps of fear. When this happened before, someone had to give up something. Amani made fists. There has to be another way. Chapter 26. What the spirit wants. Amani was woken up one night by a voice that was low and whispering, but would not go away. He kept hearing it in his head, which made him feel scared. Restore the first sacrifice, or all will suffer. Amani woke up in a cold sweat. He knew now. It wasn't enough for the woman who gave herself last time. The ancestors wanted what was taken in the first place. The child who was forgotten. As Amani and Kenzo dug deeper, they found a forgotten part of the village's history. The child who was killed and buried in secret wasn't just any child. The child was a sign that Nyanda would enter a new era. But the people had shut down their fate instead of accepting. Mad, Amani said in a low voice. They want their chosen one back. Chapter 28. An almost hopeless plan. The adults argued for a long time. The mother said, we can't bring the dead back. So what can we do? The king sighed. Perhaps a life for a life. A descendant. A bloodline must continue. Amani was cold. You mean? We must find the child's closest relative. Mama Eshi said yes, and offer them to the spirits. Chapter 29. The one picked by God. The last live relative of the child was found in old records. As the child was found in old records. It was a young girl in the village who didn't know what was going on. As soon as they knew who she was, the ghosts got restless. It started to rain again, slowly but steadily. The ancestors had asked for what they wanted. Amani looked at the girl. She was so little and didn't know what was going to happen to her. There has to be another way. But the sky was getting darker already. Chapter 30. Making the last choice. People from the town stood in front of the shrine, with the girl in the middle. The whispers of the dead got louder as the blood rain got worse. Amani moved forward. Stop! There must be another way. When lightning hit the ground in front of him, it made a loud noise that shook the ground. The ghosts made up their minds. At that moment, Amani knew that someone had to stand in for the girl. The ultimate giving up. Amani took a big breath and moved forward. If a sacrifice must be made, then let it be me. The people let out gasps. Baba Kofi's face turned dark and Mama Eshi tightened her grip on her staff. Amani, you do not understand what you are offering. I do, answered firmly. This girl is innocent. If the spirits demand a life to restore balance, they can take mine. It rained more blood, and the whispers in the wind got louder. The ghosts were paying attention.
The judgment of the spirits. As Amani stood in the middle of the shrine, the locals stood still. The sky went red, and there was a creepy feeling in the air. Baba Kofi put his hands up in the air. Ancestors, we offer a life to satisfy your will. Accept this sacrifice and restore peace to Nyanda. The town was hit by a strong wind that shook the trees and put out the torches. They could feel the ground shaking. Then there was a voice in the air that was deep, old, sad, and strong. The sacrifice is accepted. Part 33. In between words, Amani felt like he was pulled off the ground and his body had no weight to it. He could see the village below and the people he had known his whole life. But past them, he saw something else, a world with moving shadows and bright red eyes. He felt like he was being watched. You are brave, child of Neander, but do you understand the cost? Amani took a deep breath. I do. If my life will bring peace, I accept my fate, the ghost whispered. Then let it be so. Chapter 34. How the curse was broken. The blood rain slowed down and then stopped altogether. Neander had been seeing red clouds for weeks, but they broke apart, showing a clear blue sky. Amani's body was put on the ground slowly. His breathing stopped, and his eyes stayed closed. People in the town ran to him, but Mama Esh put out her hand. He is in the hands of the ancestors now. He touched his knees next to him and his voice shook. Is he gone? Amani felt Baba Kofi's hand on her face. His journey is not over yet. Chapter 35. The gift of the spirit deep in the spirit world. Amani stood in front of a group of bright beings. These people were Neander's ancestors, and their eyes were both wise and sad. You've brought balance back, Amani, one of them said, but you do not have to remain here. Amani made a face. I thought I was to be sacrificed. The ghost gave a nod. You were willing, and that is enough. But now, we offer you a choice. Stay with us, or return to the world of the living and guide your people. Chapter 36. The waking up. Amani let out a gasp as his eyes opened wide. The people in the village were shocked and stepped back as he stood up. Kenzo yelled, "He's alive!" Mama Esh and Baba Kofi looked at each other with knowing eyes. She said in a whisper, "The spirits have given him back to us. He is chosen." As Amani looked around, he was torn between being confused and being clear. He had seen his relatives. He had been to their land. Now, he had come back. He wasn't the same though. Chapter 37. A new goal. The town celebrated Amani's return over the next few days. The peasants' scars on their skin faded after the blood rain stopped. The ghosts were at ease. But Amani knew he still had work to do. There was a reason he was given a second shot. The ancestors spared me, he told Kenzo one night. But only because they need me to protect Neander. The balance must never be broken again. Kenzo gave a nod. Then we must make sure the past is never forgotten. Chapter 38. Neander's guardian. Amani was no longer a citizen of the town. He was now Neander's guardian. He learned the old ways, the traditions, and the smarts of the ancestors from Baba Kofi. She was proud as she watched him. You are the bridge between the living and the spirits now. Amani agreed to take on the new job, but he knew it would be hard. The old ways of doing things were dying out as the world changed. No matter what, he had to keep the balance. Part 39. The last sign. At night, Amani was sitting by the well where it all began. A cold wind blew through the town. He gasped as he looked down into the water. One little red drop. The ghosts were still looking around. Chapter 40. The cycle keeps going. After many years, Amani stood at the shrine. He was now an old man. He had watched over the town and helped it grow. But he knew that the cycle would start all over again one day. It was the kids of Neander who caught his eye. They were looking forward to hearing his story. Long ago, there was a blood rain, and it changed everything. The story would keep going, and the ghosts would too. The balance had to be kept as long as Neander was there. A new danger. Amani had worked for years to keep things in balance. But as he walked through the village one evening, he felt something change. The words were different from before. They were angry and urgent. Mama Esh, who was really old and weak, walked up to him. The ancestors are restless again. Amani, something has disturbed them. To listen, Amani closed his eyes. The ghosts were telling him to be careful. Chapter 42. The stranger without a name. Someone traveling came to Neander. The traveler was a guy with bright green eyes and no tribal markings on him. The locals were wary of him, but he said he was a historian who wanted to learn more about the blood rain. The man said, "The rain wasn't just a punishment, it was a warning, and it will return." Amani looked at him very closely. "Who are you?" The man smiled, but his eyes didn't warm up. "Someone who knows what's coming." Chapter 43. Going over the prophecy again. Baba Kofi found an old scroll that had been hidden for many years. It talked about a second blood rain that was a lot worse than the first one. "If the balance is ever disturbed again," he said, "the spirits will not just send rain, they will take the land itself." Amani made fist. "Then we must find what has disturbed them, before it's too late." 44. Signs of the end of the world. The animals in the village got bored and stopped eating. There was no one making the shadows move. After that, one night a person from the town vanished without a trace. Amani stood in front of the shrine. "Ancestors, tell me what we have done." There was only one whisper in the wind: betrayal. Chapter 45. The ritual that cannot be done. Amani spoke to the stranger. "What have you done?" The man laughed. "I merely reminded the spirits of what was stolen from them." The ground shook. A red fog rose from the ground. It was time for more blood rain. Chapter 46. The village was split up. People were scared. Some people wanted to run away, while others said the stranger should be killed to appease the ghost. The mother shook her head. "Violence will not end this. We must understand what has been lost." Amani said, "Yes, and we must find it fast." 47. The grave that was forgotten. When Kenzo came back, he brought bad news. "I found an unmarked grave near the old temple. I think it's what the spirits are angry about. They found the remains of a child who had been buried wrong, with its bones wrapped in something strange." Baba Kofi gave off a pale look. This was no ordinary child. This was a stolen heir. Chapter 48. The wrath of the spirits. The sky got darker as they brought the body parts to the shrine. The first blood drops fell. Amani put the bundle up high. "Ancestors, we return what was taken." Thunder sounded. It stopped raining. The ghosts were paying attention. Part 49. What happened to the stranger? The green-eyed man did nothing but watch. "You think this will end it? You cannot stop what has already begun." He looked at Amani. "Who are you?" "Really?" He smiled. "The last descendant of the ones who stole from your people, and I have awakened the curse in full." No. 50. A new guardian. The ghost had one last talk with Amani. "The cycle is broken, but the balance must be watched forever." Amani bowed. "I understand." The man with the green eyes disappeared, being sucked up by the ground. From that point on, Neander was always being watched by the guardian. As long as the balance was kept, the blood rain would never come back. What the story teaches: balance is what makes everything possible. If that balance is upset by greed, betrayal, or unfairness, the effects can last for generations. As a metaphor for the past, the ghost in "The Blood Rain Returns" remind us that the past is never really gone. It's still there in the land, in the stories, and in the hearts of those who remember. We can learn from Amani's story that having courage and being responsible go hand in hand. He gives up his life willingly for the greater good, showing that being a leader isn't about power but about duty. Their ancestors didn't want blood to get back at people. They wanted justice, the truth, and respect for what is holy. The story also warns against being stupid. The outsider, who was eager to learn, tried to control forces he didn't fully grasp. His actions show us that we should respect history instead of using it for our own gain, and that cultural traditions should be kept alive instead of being thrown away. Also, the story shows us how closely nature and the spiritual world are connected. The blood rain isn't just a supernatural event. It's also a sign of how badly people feel about their past. Nature seems to protest when we don't fix the mistakes of the past. Collective responsibility is one of the most important lessons we can learn from this story. The people of Neander had to work together to find out what really happened, own up to what their ancestors did, and make things right. Their home was saved by a group effort, not just one person's work. The story also shows how dangerous it is to be too comfortable. It's interesting how history can creep up on us when we least expect it. The Green-Eyed Man is a reminder of wrongdoings from the past. The past is never really gone. It stays, watching, ready for another time when the balance is upset. This reminds us that we need to keep working for justice and peace, because not knowing the truth costs a lot more than we can imagine. Ultimately, the Blood Rain Returns is a testament to the unbreakable connection between the past and the present. If we forget the lessons of those who came before us and uphold the wisdom of our ancestors, we can preserve harmony for future generations. Neander stands as a symbol of resilience, a village that faced the wrath of its own past and emerged stronger, bound by the lessons of its ancestors. And Amoni, the guardian, reminds us that even in the darkest times, there will always be those who stand to protect the balance of the world. The spirits do not seek revenge, they seek justice, and as long as there are those willing to listen, to learn, and to act, the world will never fall into ruin. For the rain may fall, but it is what we do in its way